Blessed love and peace. This is recitation of Tobadi Gokadao, Torah Bhagavad Gita, Digha Nikaya Dhammapada, Gospels, Quran, and Tao Te Ching. The portion this week is numero 19, Terumah. This includes from Torah, Parsha, Terumah, which is Shmot 25:1 a 27:19, the Chandogya Upanishad, Kanda 3, chapter 12. From the Bhagavad Gita, it is the Arjuna Visada, numero 1. From Tao Te Ching, it is chapter 18. From Lunyu, it is 18. From the Digha Nikaya, it is the Mahapadana Sutta 14, chapter 2. From the Dhammapada, it is the Dhammata Vaga, numero 19. From the Gospels, it is Mark, chapters 9 a 10. And from the Quran, it is Surah Ataha, which is numero 20. And from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, it is So Parak. Bismillah ar-Rahmani ar-Rahim. Allah wabha. Dao kadao fe chong dao ming kuming fe chong ming ja Rastafari. Deus nos de qui es in celi santo facito nomen tuum. Vaheguru sanam. Baruch ata Elohim Eloheinu melech olam. Asher kazanu b'mitzotav v'tzivanu l'sok b'rvai Torah. Amen. Kyrie eleison. Sivamastu save jigatahim, sabe sata bhavantu sukhitatam. Fagabiyam. Akwaba upendo na amanim. Takiri inasalami. Chinta dan paramian. Libavamiam umajika. Ubuntu shabona fakitka. Shishem. Kamosanida, Damo Arigato, Pilama Yellow Wokan Toko Doko Shingun, Gomanagan. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Ata Jamya Yata Afanami. Ado, Aho, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Amen. Torah Terumah. Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and have them take for me an offering. From every person whose heart inspires him to generosity, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering that you shall take from them: gold, silver, and copper, blue, purple, and crimson wool, linen, and goat hair, ram skins dyed red, tachash skins, and acacia wood, oil for lighting, spices for the anointing oil, and for the incense, shocham stones and filling stones for the ephod, and for the choshen. And they shall make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in their midst, according to all that I show you, the pattern of the Mishkan and the pattern of all its vessels, and so shall you do. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, from inside and from outside you shall overlay it, and you shall make upon it a golden crown all around. And you shall cast 4 golden rings for it, and you shall place them upon its 4 corners, 2 rings on its one side and 2 rings on its other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and you shall overlay them with gold. And you shall bring the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark with them. The poles of the ark shall be in the rings; they shall not be removed from it. And you shall place into the ark the testimony which I will give you. And you shall make an ark cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And you shall make 2 golden cherubim. You shall make them of hammered work from the 2 ends of the ark cover. Make 1 cherub from the one end, and the other cherub from the other end. From the ark cover you shall make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubim shall have their wings spread upwards, shielding the ark cover with their wings, with their faces towards one another. Turned towards the ark cover shall be the faces of the cherubim. And you shall place the ark cover on the ark from above, and into the ark you shall place the testimony which I will give you. I will arrange my meetings with you there, and I will speak with you from atop the ark cover, from between the 2 cherubim that are upon the ark of the testimony, all that I will command you unto the children of Israel. And you shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits its length, 1 cubit its width, and a cubit and a half its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, and you shall make for it a golden crown all around. And you shall make for it a frame a handbreadth wide all around. And you shall make a golden crown for its frame all around. And you shall make for it 4 golden rings, and you shall place the rings on the 4 corners that are on its 4 legs. The rings shall be opposite the frame as holders for the poles and with which to carry the table. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood, and you shall overlay them with gold, and the table shall be carried with them. And you shall make its forms, its spoons, its half pipes, and its supports with which it will be covered. Of pure gold you shall make them. And you shall place on the table showbread before me at all times. And you shall make a menorah of pure gold. The menorah shall be made of hammered work. Its base and its stem, its goblets, its knobs, and its flower shall all be one portion with it. And 6 branches coming out of its sides, 3 menorah branches from its one side, and 3 menorah branches from its second side. 3 decorated goblets on one branch, a knob and a flower, and 3 decorated goblets on one branch, a knob and a flower. So for the 6 branches that come out of the menorah. And on the stem of the menorah shall be 4 decorated goblets, its knobs and its flowers, and a knob under the 2 branches from it, and a knob under the 2 branches from it, and a knob under the 2 branches from it. So for the 6 branches that come out of the menorah. Their knobs and their branches shall be all one portion with it. All of it shall be one hammered mass of pure gold. And you shall make its lamps 7, and he shall kindle its lamps, so that they shall shed light towards its face. And its tongs and its scoops shall be of pure gold. He shall make it of a talent of pure gold with all these implements. Now see and make according to the pattern which you are shown on the mountain. And the Mishkan you shall make out of 10 curtains, consisting of twisted fine linen, and blue, purple, and crimson wool. A cherubim design of the work of a master weaver you shall make them. The length of 1 curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of 1 curtain shall be 4 cubits, the same measure for all the curtains. 5 of the curtains shall be joined to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall also be joined to one another. And you shall make loops of blue wool on the edge of 1 curtain that is at the edge of the first set, and so shall you do on the edge of the outermost curtain of the second set. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of 1 curtain, and you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain in the second set. The loops shall correspond to one another. And you shall make 50 golden clasps, and you shall fasten the curtains to one another with the clasps. So shall the Mishkan become one. And you shall make curtains of goat hair for a tent over the Mishkan. You shall make 11 curtains. The length of 1 curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the width of 1 curtain 4 cubits, the same measure for the 11 curtains. And you shall join the 5 curtains by themselves, and the other 6 curtains by themselves, and you shall fold the 6th curtain before the front of the tent. And you shall make 50 loops on the edge of 1 curtain, which is at the edge of the first set, and 50 loops on the edge of the outermost curtain of the second set. And you shall make 50 copper clasps. You shall bring the clasps into the loops, and you shall fasten the tent together so that it will become one. And the overhanging excess in the curtains of the tent, half of the extra curtain, shall hang over the rear of the Mishkan. And the cubit from here and the cubit from there of the excess in the length of the curtains of the tent shall hang over the sides of the Mishkan from here and from there to cover it. And you shall make a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of tachash skins above. And you shall make the planks for the Mishkan of acacia wood upright. 10 cubits shall be the length of each plank, and a cubit and a half shall be the width of each plank. Each plank shall have 2 square pegs rung like, one even with the other. So shall you make all the planks of the Mishkan. And you shall make the planks for the Mishkan, 20 planks for the southern side. And you shall make 40 silver sockets under the 20 planks, 2 sockets under 1 plank for its 2 square pegs, and 2 sockets under 1 plank for its 2 square pegs. And for the second side of the Mishkan on the northern side, 20 planks. And there are 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets under 1 plank, and 2 sockets under 1 plank. And for the western end of the Mishkan you shall make 6 planks. And you shall make 2 planks at the corners of the Mishkan at the end. And they shall be matched evenly from below, and together they shall match at its top, to be put into the 1 ring. So shall it be for both of them. They shall be for the 2 corners. And there shall be 8 planks, and their silver sockets, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under 1 plank, and 2 sockets under 1 plank. And you shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the planks of one side of the Mishkan. and 5 bars for the planks of the second side of the Mishkan, and 5 bars for the planks of the rear side of the Mishkan on the westward end. And the middle bar in the midst of the planks shall extend and penetrate from one end to the other end. And you shall overlay the planks with gold, and their rings you shall make of gold as holders for the bars, and you shall overlay the bars with gold. And you shall erect the Mishkan according to its proper manner, as you will have been shown on the mountain. And you shall make a dividing curtain of blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen, the work of a master weaver. He shall make it in a woven cherubim design. A woven cherubim design. And you shall place it on 4 pillars of acacia wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be gold on 4 silver sockets. And you shall place the dividing curtain beneath the clasps. You shall bring there on the inner side of the dividing curtain the ark of the testimony, and the dividing curtain shall separate for you between the holy and the holy of holies. And you shall place the ark cover over the ark of the testimony in the holy of holies. And you shall place the table on the outer side of the dividing curtain, and the menorah opposite the table on the southern side of the Mishkan. And you shall place the table on the northern side. And you shall make a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen, the work of an embroiderer. You shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia, and overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be gold, and you shall cast for them 5 copper sockets. And you shall make the altar of acacia wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. And you shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horns shall be from it, and you shall overlay it with copper. And you shall make its pots to remove its ashes, and its shovels, and its sprinkling basins, and its flesh hooks, and its scoops. You shall make all its implements of copper. And you shall make for it a copper grating of netting work, and you shall make on the netting 4 copper rings on its 4 ends. And you shall place it beneath the ledge of the altar from below, and the net shall extend downwards until the middle of the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and you shall overlay them with copper. And its poles shall be inserted into the rings, and the poles shall be on both sides of the altar when it is carried. You shall make it hollow out of boards, as Elohim showed you on the mountain, so shall they do. And you shall make the courtyard of the Mishkan on the southern side. On the southern side there shall be hangings for the courtyard of twisted fine linen, 100 cubits long on one side. And its pillars shall be 20, and their sockets 20 of copper. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be of silver. And so for the northern end in the length hangings, 1 copper. And so for the northern end in the length hangings, 100 cubits long. Its pillars 20, and their sockets 20 of copper. The hooks of the pillars and their bands of silver. The width of the courtyard on the western side, hangings 50 cubits. Their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. The width of the courtyard on the eastern side, 50 cubits. The hangings on the shoulder shall be 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And on the second shoulder there shall be 15 hangings, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And at the gate of the courtyard shall be a screen of 20 cubits, made of blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen, the work of an embroiderer, their pillars 4, and their sockets 4. All the pillars around the courtyard shall have silver bands, silver hooks, and copper sockets. The length of the courtyard shall be 100 cubits, and the width 50 by 50 cubits. The height of the hanging shall be 5 cubits of twisted fine linen, and their sockets shall be of copper. All the implements of the Mishkan for all its labor, and all its pegs, and all the pegs of the courtyard shall be copper. Chandogya Upanishads 3:12. The Gayatri is everything, whatever here exists. Speech is verily the Gayatri, for speech sings forth Gayati and protects Trayate, everything, whatever here exists. That Gayatri is also the earth, for everything that exists here rests on this earth and does not go beyond. In man, that Gayatri is also the body, for the pranas exist in this body and do not go beyond. That body in man is again the heart within a man, for the pranas exist in it and do not go beyond. That Gayatri has 4 feet and is 6-fold. The same is also declared by a Rig verse. Such is its greatness of Brahman as known through the symbol of the Gayatri. Greater than it is the being Brahman. One of its feet covers all beings. The eternally living 3 feet are in heaven in itself. The Brahman which has been thus described is the same as the physical akasha outside a person. The akasha which is outside a person is the same as that which is inside a person. The akasha which is inside a person is the akasha within the heart. The akasha which is within the heart is omnipresent and unchanging. He who knows this obtains full and unchanging prosperity. Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna Visada Yogehe, numero 1. Dhritarashtra says, O Sanjaya, what did Pandu's sons and mine do when desirous to fight they assembled on the sacred plain of Kurukshetra? Sanjaya says, on seeing the Pandava army arrayed for battle, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke these words. O teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu arrayed by your talented disciple, the son of Drupada. In that army are mighty archers and heroes in battle equal to Bhima and Arjuna, Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada, each a Maharata. Heroic Drishtaketu, Chekitana, and the king of Kasi, Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Saivya, all the best of men. Powerful Udamanyu, brave Uttamaja, Subhadra's son, and the sons of Draupadi, all Maharatas indeed. O best of the twice born, let me also recount to you the leaders of my own army, those distinguished amongst ourselves. I shall name them, that you may know them all. Yourself and Bhishma and Karna, Kripa, who is ever victorious in war, Ashvatthama, Vikama, Jayadratha, and Somadatta's son, and many other heroes, besides armed with many weapons, each well skilled in battle, and all resolved to lay down their lives to serve my cause. But this army of ours, protected by Bhishma, is inadequate, and that army of theirs, protected by Bhima, is adequate. Now take your proper places in front of your martial troops, and protect Bhishma alone. Bhishma, the grandsire, the courageous, the oldest of the Kurus, gave forth a lion roar and blew his conch, causing joy to Duryodhana. Then the conches and kettle drums, tabors, and trumpets, and cow horns suddenly blared forth, and the sound was stupendous. Whereupon Madhava and Pandava, seated in their magnificent chariot yoked to white horses, also blew their celestial conches. Rishikesa blew his conch, the Panchajanya, Dhanajaya, the Devadatta, and Vrikodara, the doer of fearful deeds, blew his great conch, the Pandra. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch, the Anantavijaya, and Nakala and Sahadeva blew the Sugosha and the Manipushapaka. The great archer, the king of Kasi, the great warrior Sikandi, Dristad, Yunna, and Virata, the unconquered Satyaki, Drupada and the sons of Drupadi, and the mighty son of Subhadra, O master of the earth, each blew his own conch. And that tumult resounding through heaven and earth rent the hearts of Dhritarashtra's followers. Then, O master of the earth, seeing Dhritarashtra's army standing in battle array and the clash of arms about to begin, Arjuna, whose ensign bore the device of a monkey, spoke as follows to Krishna. Arjuna says, O Achyuta, between the two armies draw up my chariot, that I may behold those who stand here eager to fight, and may know on the eve of battle with whom I must contend. I would observe those who are gathered here to fight, desiring on the field of battle the well-being of the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya says, O Bharata, thus addressed by Gudakesa, Krishna drew up the excellent chariot between the two armies, facing Bhishma, Drona, and all the rulers of the earth, and said, Behold, O Partha, all the Kurus here assembled. Then Partha saw, arrayed in both the armies, fars and grandfars, maternal uncles and brothers, sons and grandsons, comrades and friends, fars-in-law and teachers. Casting his eyes on all these kinsmen stationed on opposing sides, the son of Kunti was overcome with deep pity and sorrowfully spoke. Arjuna says, O Krishna, at the sight of these my kinsmen assembled here, eager to give battle, my limbs fail, and my mouth is parched. My body is shaken, and my hair stands on end. The Bogandiva slips from my hand, and my foe is on fire. And my skin is on fire. I cannot hold myself steady. My mind seems to whirl. O Kesava, I see omens of evil. Nor do I perceive, O Krishna, any benefit in slaughtering my own people in battle. I desire neither victory nor empire, nor even any pleasure. O Govinda, of what avail to us is empire, of what avail our enjoyments, and even life itself? Our fathers and uncles, sons and grandsons, fathers-in-law and brothers-in-law, teachers and other relatives, for whose sake we desire kingdom, enjoyments, and pleasures, are arrayed here in battle, having staked their wealth and lives. These, O Madhusadana, I would not kill, though they should kill me, even for the sake of sovereignty over the three worlds, how much less for this earth. O Janardana, what joy can be ours in killing these sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin alone will possess us if we kill these felons. Therefore we ought not to kill our kinsmen, the sons of Dhritarashtra. For, O Madhava, how can we ever be happy by killing our own people? Though they, their understanding overcome by greed, perceive no evil in the decay of families, and no sin in hostility to friends, why, O Janardana, should not we, who clearly perceive the evil in the decay of families, and why should not we, who clearly perceive the evil in the decay of families, learn to refrain from this sin? With the decay of family perish its dharma, which exists from time out of mind. With the ending of the dharma, adharma overwhelms the whole family. When adharma overwhelms the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt. And when, O Krishna, the women are corrupt, there arises a mixing of castes. This mixture leads into hell the family itself, as well as those who destroy it, for their ancestors fall deprived of the offerings of rice balls and water. By these evil deeds of the destroyers of families, which result in the mixing of castes, the eternal dharma of caste and family are uprooted. We have heard it said, O Janardana, that inevitably the men whose family dharma are destroyed dwell in hell. Alas, we are resolved to commit a great sin, in that we are ready to slay our own kinsmen to satisfy our greed for the pleasure of a kingdom. Much better would it be for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, should slay me in the battle, unarmed and unresisting. Sanjaya says, Arjuna, having spoken thus on the battlefield, having cast away his bow and arrow, and sat down on his chariot seat, his mind overcome with grief. Date Ching 19. And sagacity abandon knowledge, the people benefit 100 times. And benevolence abandon righteousness, the people return to piety and charity. And cunning discard gainfulness, bandits and thieves no longer exist. These three things are superficial and insufficient. Thus this teaching has its place. Show plainness, hold simplicity, reduce selfishness, decrease desires. Le Nieu 19. Tzu Chong says, one can perhaps be satisfied with a gentleman who is ready to lay down his life in the face of danger, who does not forget what is right at the sight of gain, and who does not forget reverence during an offering, nor sorrow whilst in grieving. Tzu Chong says, how can a man be said either to have anything or not to have anything who fails to hold on to virtue with all his might, or to believe in the way with all his heart? Tzu Tsa's disciples asked Tzu Chong about friendship. Tzu Chong says, what does Tzu Tsa say? Tzu Tsa says, you should make friends with those who are adequate and spurn those who are inadequate. Tzu Chong says, that is different from what I have heard. I have heard that the gentleman honors his betters and is tolerant towards the multitude, and that he is full of honor for the benevolent, whilst taking pity on the backward. If I am greatly superior, which amongst men need I be intolerant of? If I am inferior, then others will spurn me. How can there be any question of my spurning them? So Cha says, even minor arts are sure to have their worthwhile aspects, but the gentleman does not take them up because the fear of a man who would go a long way is that he should be bogged down. So Cha says, a man can indeed be said to be eager to learn who is conscious in the course of day of what he lacks, and who never forgets in the course of a month what he has mastered. So Cha says, learn widely and be steadfast in your purpose. Inquire earnestly and reflect on what is at hand, and there is no need for you to look for benevolence elsewhere. Tzu Tsa says, the artisan in any of the 100 crafts masters his trade by standing in his workshop. The gentleman perfects his way through learning. Tzu Tsa says, when the small man makes a mistake, he is sure to gloss over it. Tzu Tsa says, in the three following situations, the gentleman gives a different impression. From a distance, he appears formal. When approached, he appears cordial, and in speech, he appears stern. Tzu Tsa says, only after he has gained the trust of the common people does the gentleman work them hard, for even otherwise they would feel themselves ill-utilized. Only after he has gained the trust of the master does the gentleman advise him against unwise action, for otherwise the master would feel himself slandered. Tzu Tsa says, if one does not overstep the bounds in major matters, it is of no consequence if one is not meticulous in minor matters. Tzu Yu says, the disciples and young followers of Tzu Tsa can certainly cope with sweeping and cleaning and responding to calls and replying to questions put to them, and with coming forward and withdrawing. But these are only details. On what is basic, they are ignorant. What is one to do with them? When Tzu hears this, he says, "Oh, how mistaken Yin Yu is. In the way of the gentleman, what is to be taught first and what is to be put last is as what is to be put last as being less urgent. The former is as clearly distinguishable from the latter as grasses are from trees. It is futile to try to give such a false picture of the way of the gentleman. It is perhaps the sage alone who, having started something, will always see through to the end." Tzu Xia says, "When a man in office finds that he can no further than cope with his duties, then he studies. When a man in office finds that he can further than cope with his duties, then he studies. When a student finds that he can further than cope with his studies, then he takes office." Tzu Yu says, "When grieving gives full expression to grief, nothing further can be required." Tzu Yu says, "My friend Chong is difficult to emulate. All the same, he has not as yet attained benevolence." Tong Chu says, "Grand indeed is Chong, so much so that it is difficult to work side by side with him at the cultivation of benevolence." Zheng Che says, "I have heard the master say that on no occasion does a man actualize himself to the full, though when pressed he says that grieving for one's parents may be an exception." Zhong Tzu says, "I have heard the master say that other men could emulate everything Men Chong Tzu did as a benevolent son, with the exception of one thing. He left unchanged both in his far as officials and his far as policies, and this was what was difficult to emulate. The Ming family appoints Yang Fu as judge, and he seeks the advice of Zheng Tzu. Zheng Tzu says, "Those in authority have lost the way, and the common people have for long been rootless. If you succeed in extracting the truth from them, do not congratulate yourself on this, but have compassion on them." Tzu Kung says, "Chao was not as wicked as all that. That is why the gentleman hates to dwell downstream, for it is there that all that is sordid in the empire finds its way." Tzu Kung says, "The gentleman's errors are like an eclipse of the soleil and moon, in that when he errs, the whole world sees him doing so, and when he reforms, the whole world looks up to him." Kung Su Chao of Wei asks Tzu Kung, "From whom did Chung Ni learn?" Tzu Kung says, "The way of King Wen and King Wu has not yet fallen to ground, but is still to be found in men. There is no man who does not have something of the way of Wen and Wu in him. Superior men have got hold of what is of major significance, whilst inferior men have got hold of what is of minor significance. From whom then does the master not learn? Equally, how could there be such a thing as a constant teacher for him?" Shu Sun Wu Shu says to the counselors at court, "Tzu Kung is superior to Chung Ni. This is reported to Tzu Kung by Tzu Fu Qing Po." Tzu Kung says, "Let us take outer walls as an analogy. My walls are shoulder high, so that it is possible to peer over them and see the beauty of the house, but the master's walls are 20 or 30 feet high, so that unless one gains admittance through the gate, one cannot see the magnificence of the ancestral temples or the sumptuousness of the official buildings. Since those who gain admittance through the gate are, shall we say, few, is it any wonder that the gentleman should have spoken as he did?" Shu Sun Wu Shu makes defamatory remarks about Chung Ni. Tzu Kung says, "He is simply wasting his time. Chung Ni cannot be defamed. In other cases, men of excellence are like hills which one can climb over. Chung Ni is like the soleil and the moon, which one has no way of climbing over. Even if someone wants to cut himself off from them, how could this detract from the sun and the moon? It would merely serve the further to show that he did not know his own measure." Cheng Tzu Qin says to Tzu Kung, "You are just being respectful, aren't you? Surely Chung Ni is not superior to you." Tzu Kung says, "The gentleman is judged wise by a single word he utters. Equally, he is judged foolish by a single word he utters. That is why one truly must be careful of what one says. The master cannot be equal just as the sky cannot be scaled. Were the master to become the head of a state or of a noble, he would be like the man described in the saying, he only has to help them stand and they will stand, to guide them and they will walk, to bring peace to them and they will turn to him, to set them tasks and they will work in harmony. In life he is honored, and in death he will be grieved, for how can he be equaled? Mahapadana Sutta 14, chapter 2. Now the young master of Apasi, brethren, when many years, many centuries, many thousands of years had passed by, bade his charioteer make ready the state carriages, saying, Get ready the carriages, benevolent charioteer, and let us go through the park to inspect the pleasaunce. Yea, my master, replied the charioteer, and harnessed the state carriages, and sent word to Vipassi, The carriages are ready, my master, do now what you deem to be fit. Then Vipassi mounted the state carriage, and drove out in state into the park. Now the young master of Vipassi saw, brethren, as he was driving to the park, an aged man as bent as a roof gable, decrepit, leaning on a staff, tottering as he walked, afflicted, and long past his prime. And seeing him, Vipassi said, That man, benevolent charioteer, what has he done that his hair is not like that of other men, nor his body? He is what is called an aged man, my master. But why is he called aged? He is called aged, my master, because he has not much longer to live. Why then, benevolent charioteer, enough of the park for today. Drive me back hence to my rooms. Thereupon Bandhamanya Raja brethren sent for the charioteer and asked him, Well, benevolent charioteer, did the boy take pleasure in the park? Was he pleased with it? No, my master, he was not. What then did he see on his drive? And the charioteer told the Raja all. Then the Raja brethren thought thus, We must not have Vipassi declining to rule. We must not have him going forth from the house into the homeless state. We must not let what the Brahmin soothsayer spoke of come true. So that these things might not come to pass, he let the youth be still further surrounded by sensuous pleasures. And thus Vipassi continued to live amidst the pleasures of sense. Now, after many years, many centuries, many thousands of years had passed by, the young master of Vipassi, brethren, again bade his charioteer make ready, and drove forth as once before. And Vipassi, brethren, saw as he was driving to the park a sick man suffering and very ill, fallen and weltering in his own water, by some being lifted up, and by others being dressed. Seeing this, Vipassi asked, That man, benevolent charioteer, what has he done that his eyes are not like others' eyes, nor his voice like the voice of other men? He is what is called ill, my master. But what is meant by ill? It means, my master, that he will hardly recover from his illness. But am I too, then, benevolent charioteer, subject to fall ill? Have I not got out of reach of illness? You, my master, and we too, we are all subject to fall ill. We have not got beyond the reach of illness. Why then, benevolent charioteer, enough of the park for today. Drive me back hence to my rooms. Yea, my master, answered the charioteer, and drove him back. And he, brethren, going to his rooms, and sat brooding, sorrowful and depressed, thinking, Shame then verily be upon this thing called birth, since to one born decay shows itself like that, disease shows itself like that. Thereupon Bandhaman Raja, brethren, sent for the charioteer and asked him, Well, benevolent charioteer, did the young master take pleasure in the park, and was he pleased with it? No, my master, he was not. What did he see then on his drive? And the charioteer told the Raja all. Then the Raja, brethren, thought thus, We must not have Vipassi declining to rule. We must not have him going forth from the house into to the homeless state. We must not let what the Brahmin soothsayer spoke of come true. So that these things might not come to pass, he let the young man be still further abundantly surrounded by sensuous pleasures, and thus Vipassi continued to live amongst the pleasures of sense. Now, once again, after many years, the young master of Vipassi drove forth. And he saw, brethren, as he was driving to the park, a great concourse of people clad in garments of different colors, constructing a funeral pyre. And seeing them, he asked his charioteer, Why now are all those people come together in garments of different colors and making that pile? It is because someone, my master, has ended his days. Then drive the carriage close to him who has ended his days. Yea, my master, answered the charioteer, and did so. Then Vipassi saw the corpse of him who had ended his days, and asked, what benevolent charioteer is ending one's days? And he saw, brethren, as he was driving to the park, a great concourse of people clad in garments of different colors, constructing a funeral pyre. And seeing them, he asked his charioteer, why now are those people come together in garments of different colors and making that pile? It is because someone, my master, has ended his days. Then drive the carriage close to him who has ended his days. Yea, my master, answered the charioteer, and did so. And Vipassi saw the corpse of him who had ended his days, and asked, what benevolent charioteer is ending one's days? It means, my master, that neither more nor far nor other kinsfolk will see him any further, nor will he ever again see them. But am I too then subject to death? Have I not got rid beyond the reach of death? Will neither the Raja nor the Rani nor any other of my kin see me further, or I ever again see them? You, my master, and we too, we are all subject to death. We have not passed beyond the reach of death. Neither the Raja nor the Rani nor any other of your kin would see you any further, nor would you ever again see them. Why then, benevolent charioteer, enough of the park for today. Drive me back hence to my rooms. Yea, my master, replied the charioteer, and drove him back. And he, brethren, going to his room, sat brooding, sorrowful and depressed, thinking, shame then verily be upon this thing called birth, since to one born the decay of life, since disease, since death shows itself like that. Thereupon Bandaman Raja, brethren, questioned the charioteer as before, and as before, let Vipassi be still further surrounded by sensuous enjoyments. And thus Vipassi continued to live amidst the pleasures of sense. Now once again, after many years, the master of Vipassi drove forth, and he saw, brethren, as he was driving to the park, a shaven-headed man, a wanderer, wearing the yellow robe. And seeing him, he asked the charioteer, what that man, benevolent charioteer, what has he done, that his head is unlike other men's heads, and his clothes are not like those of others? That is what they call a wanderer, because, my master, he is one who has gone forth. What is that, to have gone forth? To have gone forth, my master, means being thorough in the religious life, thorough in the peaceful life, thorough in benevolent actions, thorough in meritorious conduct, thorough in harmlessness, thorough in kindness to all creatures. Excellent indeed, friend charioteer, is what they call a wanderer, since so thorough is his conduct in all those respects. Wherefore drive up to that forth-gone man. Yea, my master, replied the charioteer, and drove up to the wanderer. Then Vipassi addressed him, saying, you, master, what have you done, that your head is not as other men's heads, nor your clothes as those of other men? I, my master, am one who has gone forth. What master does that mean? It means, my master, being thorough in the religious life, thorough in the peaceful life, thorough in benevolent actions, thorough in meritorious conduct, thorough in harmlessness, thorough in kindness to all creatures. Excellently indeed, master, are you said to have gone forth, since so thorough is your conduct in all those respects. Then the master of Vipassi, brethren, bade his charioteer, saying, come then, benevolent charioteer, do you take the great carriage and drive it hence back to my rooms, but I will even here cut off my hair and don the yellow robes and go forth from the house into the homeless state. Yea, my master, replied the charioteer, and drove back the master of the posse. But the master of the posse, there and then, cutting off his hair and donning the yellow robe, went forth from the house into the homeless state. Now at Bandamati, brethren, the Raja's seat, a great number of persons, some 84,000 souls, heard of what Master Papasi had done, and thought, surely this is no ordinary religious rule, this is no common going forth, in that the Master Papasi himself has had his head shaved, and has donned the yellow robe, and has gone forth from the house into the homeless state. If the Master Papasi has done this, why then should not we also? And they all had their heads shaved and donned the yellow robes, and in imitation of Vipassi the Bodhisattva, they went forth from the house into the homeless state. So Vipassi the Bodhisattva went on his rounds through the villages, towns and cities, accompanied by that multitude. Now there arose, brethren, in the mind of Vipassi the Bodhisattva, when he was meditating in seclusion, the following consideration: that indeed is not suitable for me that I should live beset. 'Twere better were I to dwell alone, distant from the crowd. So after a time he dwelt alone, away from the crowd. These 84,000 wanderers went one way, and Vipassi the Bodhisattva went another way. Now there arose, brethren, in the mind of Vipassi the Bodhisattva, when he had gone to his place and was meditating in seclusion, the following consideration: verily this world has fallen upon trouble, is one is born and grows old and dies and falls from one state and springs up in another. And from this suffering further no one knows of any way of escape, even from decay and death. Or when shall a way of escape from this suffering be made known, from decay and from death? Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is birth also present? What conditions birth? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. When becoming is birth, birth also is present, becoming is the condition of birth. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is becoming also present? What conditions becoming? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where grasping is, there is becoming, grasping is the condition of becoming. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is grasping and also present, is grasping also present? What conditions grasping? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where craving is, there is grasping, craving is the condition of grasping. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is craving also present? What conditions craving? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where feeling is, there is craving, feeling is the condition of craving. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is feeling also present? What conditions feeling? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where contact is, there is feeling, contact is the condition of feeling. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is the sixfold field also present? What conditions the sixfold field? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where name and form is, there is the sixfold field, name and form is the condition of the sixfold field. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is name and form also present? What conditions name and form? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where cognition is, there is name and form. Cognition is the condition of name and form. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: what now being present, is a cognition also present? What conditions cognition? Then, brethren, from attention to the cause arose the conviction through reason. Where name and form is, there is cognition, name and form conditions cognition. Then to Vipassi the Bodhisattva, brethren, this occurred: cognition turns back from name and form, it goes not beyond. Only as follows can one be born, or stow away, or stow old, or die, or fall from one condition, or reappear in another. That is, in that cognition is conditioned by name and form, and name and form by cognition. The sixfold field by name and form, contact by the sixfold field, feeling by contact, craving by feeling, grasping by craving, becoming by grasping, birth by becoming, decay and dying by birth, and so to grief, lamentation, ill, sorrow, and despair come to pass. Such is the coming to be of this entire body of ill. Dhammapada, the Dhammata Vaga, 19. Not by passing arbitrary judgments does a man become just. A wise man is he who investigates both right and wrong. He who does not judge others arbitrarily, but passes judgment impartially according to the truth. That sagacious man is a guardian of law and is called just. One is not wise because one speaks much. He who is peaceable, friendly, and fearless is called wise. A man is not versed in Dhamma because he speaks much. He who, after hearing a little Dhamma, realizes its truth directly and is not heedless of it, is truly versed in the Dhamma. A monk is not an elder because his head is gray. He is but ripe in age, and he is called one grown old and vain. One in whom there is truthfulness, virtue, inoffensiveness, restraint, and self-mastery, who is free from defilements and is wise, he is truly called an elder. Not by mere eloquence, nor by beauty or of form does a man become accomplished if he is jealous, selfish, and deceitful. But he in whom these are wholly destroyed, uprooted, and extinct, and who has cast out hatred, that wise man is truly accomplished. Not by shaving head does a man who is indisciplined and untruthful become a monk. How can he who is full of desire and greed be a monk? He who wholly subdues evil from small and great is called a monk because he has overcome all evil. He is not a monk just because he lives on others' alms. Not by adapting outward forms does one become a true monk. Whoever here in the dispensation lives a holy life, transcending both merit and demerit, and walks with understanding in this world, he is truly called a monk. Not by observing silence does one become a sage, if he be foolish and ignorant, but that man is wise, who, as if holding a balanced scale, accepts only the benevolent. The sage, thus rejecting the evil, is truly a sage. Since he comprehends both present and future worlds, he is called a sage. He is not noble who injures living beings. He is called noble because he is harmless towards all living beings. Not by rules and observances, not even by much learning, nor by gain of absorption, nor by a life of seclusion, nor by thinking I enjoy the bliss of renunciation, which is not experienced by the worldling, should you, O monks, rest your content until the utter destruction of the kinkers or hardship is reached. Gospels, Mark 19:10. And he said to them, truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see that the sovereignty of God has come with power. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Eliyahu and Moshe, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is beneficial for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Eliyahu. He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Then a cloud appeared and covered them, and a voice came from the cloud, this is my son, whom I love. Listen to him. Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. And they were coming down the mountain. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. And they asked him, why do the teachers of the law say that Eliyahu must first come? Jesus replied, to be sure, Eliyahu does come first, and restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer much and be rejected? But I tell you, Eliyahu has come, and they have done to him everything they wished, that just as it is written about him. When they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them, and the teachers of the law arguing with them. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. What are you arguing with them about? He asked. A man in the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought to you my son who is possessed by a spirit, and he is robbed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not. You unbelieving generation, Jesus replied, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, How long has he been like this? From childhood, he answered. It has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe, help me overcome my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. You deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and he came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said he is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to his feet, and he stood up. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, why couldn't we drive it out? He replied, this kind can come out only by prayer. They left that place and passed through Galilee. Jesus did not want anyone to know where they were, because he was teaching his disciples. He said to them, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise. But they did not understand what he meant, and were afraid to ask him about it. They came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, what were you arguing about on the road? But they kept quiet, because on the way they had argued about who was the greatest. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. He took a little child whom he placed amongst them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me. Teacher, said John, we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he was not one of us. Do not stop him, Jesus said, for no one who does a miracle in my name can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Truly I tell you, anyone who gives you a cup of water in my name because you belong to the Messiah will certainly not lose their reward. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them if a large millstone were hung around their neck and they were thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than with 2 hands to go into hell, where the fire never goes out. And if your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. But it is better for you to enter life crippled than to have 2 feet and be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the sovereignty of God with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into hell. The worms that eat them do not die, and the fire is not quenched. Everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is beneficial, but if it loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt amongst yourselves and be at peace with each other. Jesus then left that place and went into the region of Judea and across the Jordan. Again, crowds of people came to him, and as was his custom, he taught them. Some Pharisees came and tested him by asking, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? What did Moshe command you? He replied. They said, Moshe permitted men to write a certificate of divorce and send her away. It was because your hearts were hard that Moshe wrote you this law, Jesus said. Jesus replied, but at the beginning of creation God made them male and female. For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and he be united to his wife. And the two will become one flesh, so they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate. When they were in the house again, the disciples asked Jesus about this. He answered, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her, and if she divorces her husband and marries another man, she commits adultery. People were bringing little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them, but the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the sovereignty of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the sovereignty of God like a little child will never enter it. And he took the children in his arms, placed his hands on them, and blessed them. As Jesus started on his way, a man ran up to him and fell on his knees before him. Benevolent teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Why do you call me benevolent? Jesus replied, there is only one who is benevolent, except God alone. No one is benevolent except God alone. You know the commandments. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, you shall not defraud, you shall honor your father and more. Teacher, he declared, all these I have kept since I was a boy. Jesus looked at him and loved him. One thing you lack, he said, go sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. At this, the man's face fell. He went away sad because he had great wealth. Jesus looked around and said to his disciples, "How hard it is for the rich man to enter the sovereignty of God." The disciples were amazed at his words, but Jesus said again, "Children, how hard it is to enter the sovereignty of God. It is greater for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the sovereignty of God." The disciples were even further amazed and said to each other, "Who then can be saved?" Jesus looked at them and said, "With man this is impossible, but not with God, for all things are possible with God." Then Peter spoke up, "We have left everything to follow you." "Truly I tell you," he replied, "no one who has left home or brothers or sisters or more afar or children or fields for me and the gospel will fail to receive 100 times as much in this present age, homes, brothers, sisters, more children, and fields, along with the persecutions, and in the age to come eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and then the last first." They were on the way up to Jerusalem with Jesus leading the way, and the disciples were astonished, whilst those who followed were afraid. Again he took the 12 aside and told them what was going to happen to him. "We are going up to Jerusalem," he said, "and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him and spit on him, flock him, and kill him. 3 days later he will rise." Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. "Teacher," they said, "we want you to do for us whatever we ask." What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. They replied, "Let one of us sit at your right hand and the altar at your left in your glory." "You don't know what you are asking," Jesus said. "Can you drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. But to sit at my right hand or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared." When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles master it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great and must be whoever wants to become great amongst you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside, begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the further, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man, "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus, "your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Quran, Surah At-Taha, Diente. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Taha. Taha. We have not sent down the Quran to thee We have not sent down the Quran to thee to be an occasion for thy distress, but only as an admonition to those who fear Allah, a revelation from Allah who created the earth and the heavens on high. Allah most gracious is firmly established on the throne of authority. To Allah belongs what is in the heavens and on earth, and all between them and all beneath the soil. If thou pronounce the word aloud, it is no matter, for verily Allah knoweth what is secret and what is yet further hidden. Allah, there is none other deity but Allah. To Allah belong the most beautiful names. Has the story of Moshe reached thee? Behold, he saw a fire. So he said to his family, Tarry here, I perceive a fire. Perhaps I can bring you some burning brand therefrom, or find some guidance at the fire. But when he came to the fire, a voice was heard, O Moshe, verily I am thy Lord, therefore in my presence put off thy shoes. Thou art in the sacred valley Tuah. I have chosen thee. Listen then to the inspiration sent to thee. Verily I am Allah. There is none other deity but I. So serve thou me only, and establish regular prayer for celebrating my praise. Verily the hour is coming. My design is to keep it hidden, for every soul to receive its reward by the measure of its endeavor. Therefore let not such as believe not therein, but follow their own lusts, divert they therefrom, lest thou perish. And what is that in thy right hand, O Moshe? He said, It is my rod, on it I lean. With it I beat down fodder for my flocks, and in it I find other uses. Allah said, Throw it, O Moshe. He said, and behold, it was a snake. He threw it, and behold, it was a snake, active in motion. Allah said, Seize it, and fear not. We shall return it at once to its former condition. Now draw thy hand close to thy side. It shall come forth white and shining, without harm or stain, as another sign, in order that we may show thee two of our greater signs. Go thou to Pharaoh, for he has indeed transgressed all bounds. Moshe said, O my Lord, expand me my breast, ease my task for me, and remove the impediment from my speech, so that they may understand what I say. And give me a minister for my family, Aaron my brother, and to my strength, add to my strength through him, and make him share my task, that we may celebrate thy praise without stint, and remember thee without stint. For thou art Allah that ever regardeth us. Allah said, Granted is thy prayer, O Moshe, and indeed we conferred a favor on thee another time before. Behold, we sent to thy more by inspiration the message, Throw the child into the chest, and throw the chest into the river. The river will cast him upon the bank, and he will be taken up by one who is an enemy to me and an enemy to him. But I cast the garment of love over thee from me, and this is in order that thou mayest be reared under mine eye. Behold, thy sister goeth forth and saith, Shall I show you one who will nurse and rear the child? So we brought thee back to thy more, that her eye might be cooled, and she should not grieve. Then thou didst slay a man, but we saved thee from trouble, and we tried thee in various ways. Then didst thou tarry a number of years with the people of Midian, and didst thou come hither as ordained, O Moshe. And I have prepared thee for myself for service. Go thou and thy brother with my signs, and slacken not either of you in keeping me in remembrance. Go both of you to Pharaoh, for he has indeed transgressed all bounds. But speak to him mildly, perchance he may take warning or fear Allah. They, Moshe and Aaron, said, O Lord, we fear lest he hasten with insolence against us, or lest he transgress all bounds. Allah said, Fear not, for I am with you. I hear and see everything. So go ye both to him, and say, Verily we are apostles sent by thy Lord. Send forth therefore the children of Israel with us, and afflict them not. And with a sign indeed have we come from thy Lord, and peace to all who follow guidance. Verily it has been revealed to us that the penalty awaits those who reject and turn away. When this message was delivered, Pharaoh said, Who then, O Moshe, is the Lord of you two? He said, Our Lord is Allah, who gave to each created thing its form and nature, and further gave it guidance. Pharaoh said, What then is the condition of previous generations? He replied, The knowledge of that is with my Lord, duly recorded. My Lord never errs nor forgets. Allah, who has made for you the earth like a carpet spread out, has enabled you to go about therein by roads and channels, and has sent down water from the sky. With it have we produced diverse pairs of plants, each separate from the others. Eat for yourselves and pasture your cattle. Verily in this are signs for men endued with understanding. From the earth did we create you, and into it shall we return you, and from it shall we bring you out once again. And we showed Pharaoh all our signs, but he did reject and refuse. He said, Hast thou come to drive us out of our land with thy magic, O Moshe? But we can surely produce magic to match thine, so make a tryst between us and thee, which we shall not fail to keep, neither we nor thou, in a place where both shall have even chances. Moshe said, Your tryst is the day of the festival, and let the people be assembled when the soleil is well up. So Pharaoh withdrew, he concerted his plan, and then came back. Moshe said to him, Woe to you, forge not ye a lie against Allah, lest Allah destroy you at once utterly by chastisement. The forger must suffer frustration. So they disputed one with another over their affair, but they kept their talk secret. They said, These two are certainly expert magicians. Their object is to drive you out from your land with their magic, and to do away with your most cherished institutions. Therefore, concert your plan, and then assemble in serried ranks. He wins all along today who gains the upper hand. They said, O Moshe, whether wilt thou that thou throwest first, or that we be the first to throw? He said, Nay, throw ye first. Then behold, their ropes and their rods, so it seemed to him on account of their magic, to begin to be in lively motion. So Moshe conceived in his mind a sort of fear. We said, Fear not, for thou hast indeed the upper hand. Throw that which is in thy right hand. Quickly will it swallow up that which they have faked. What they have faked is but a magician's trick, and the magician thrives not, no matter where he goes. So the magicians were thrown down to prostration. They said, We believe in the Lord of Aaron and Moshe. Pharaoh said, Believe ye in Allah before I give you permission. Surely this must be your leader who has taught you magic. Be sure I will cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides, and I will have you crucified on trunks of palm trees. So shall ye know for certain which of us can give the further severe and the further lasting punishment. They said, Never shall we regard thee as further than the clear signs that have come to us, or that Allah who created us so decree. Whatever thou desirest to decree, for thou canst only decree such touching the life of this world. For us, we have believed in our Lord. May Allah forgive us our faults and the magic to which thou didst compel us, for Allah is best and most abiding. Verily, he who comes to his Lord as a sinner at judgment, for him is hell. Therein shall he neither die nor live. But such as come to Allah as believers who have worked righteous deeds, for them are ranks exalted. Gardens of eternity beneath which rivers flow, they will dwell therein for aye, which is the reward of those who follow themselves from evil. We send inspiration to Moshe, travel by night with my servants, and strike a dry path for them through the sea, without fear of being overtaken by Pharaoh and without any other fear. Then Pharaoh pursued them with his forces, but the waters completely overwhelmed them and covered them up. Pharaoh led his people astray instead of leading them aright. O ye children of Israel, we delivered you from your enemy, and we made a covenant with you on the right side of Mount Sinai, and we sent down to you manna and quails, saying, Eat of the benevolent things we have provided for your sustenance, but commit no excesses therein, lest my wrath should justly descend on you, and those on whom descends my wrath do perish indeed. But without doubt I am also Allah that forgives again and again to those who repent, believe, and do right, who in fine are ready to receive true guidance. When Moshe was up on the mount, Allah said, What made thee hasten in advance of thy people, O Moshe? He replied, Behold, they are close on my footsteps. I hastened to thee, O my Lord, to please thee. Allah said, We have tested thy people in thy absence. The Samiri has led them astray. So Moshe returned to his people in a state of indignation and sorrow. He said, O my people, did not your Lord make a handsome promise to you? Did then the promise seem to you long in coming, or did ye tarry that wrath should descend from your Lord on you, and so ye broke your promise to me? They said, We broke not the promise to thee as much as lay in our power, but we were made to carry the weight of the ornaments of the whole people, and we threw them into the fire, and that was what the Samiri suggested. Then he brought out of the fire before the people the image of a calf. It seemed to low, so they said, This is your deity and the deity of Moshe, but Moshe has forgotten. Could they not see that it could not return them a word for answer, and that it had no power either to harm them or to do them benevolence? Aaron had already before this said to them, O my people, ye are being tested in this, for verily your Lord is Allah most gracious, so follow me and obey my command. They had said, Well, we will not abandon this cult, but we will devote ourselves to it until Moshe returns to us. Moshe said, O Aaron, what kept thee back when thou sawest them going forward from following me? Didst thou then disobey my order? Aaron replied, O son of my mother, seize me not by my beard, nor by the hair of my head. Truly I feared lest thou shouldst say, Thou hast caused a division amongst the children of Israel, and thou didst not respect my word. Moshe said, What then is thy case, O Samiri? He replied, I saw what they saw not. So I took a handful of dust from the footprint of the messenger and threw it into the calf. Thus did my soul suggest to me. Moshe said, Get thee gone, but thy punishment in this life will be that thou wilt say, Touch me not, and further over, for a future penalty thou hast a promise that will not fail. Now look at thy deity, of whom thou hast become a devoted worshipper. We will certainly melt in a blazing fire and scatter it broadcast in the sea. But the deity of you all is the one Allah. There is none other deity but Allah. All things Allah comprehends in Allah's knowledge. Thus do we relate to thee some stories of what happened before, for we have sent thee a messenger from our own presence. If any do turn away therefrom, verily they will bear a burden on the day of judgment. They will abide in this state, and grievous will the burden be to them on that day. The day when the trumpet will be sounded, that day we shall gather the sinful, blear-eyed with terror. In whispers will they consult each other, that yet ye tarried not longer than 10 days. We know best what they will say when their leader, most eminent in conduct, will say, Ye tarried not longer than a day. They ask thee concerning the mountains, say, My Lord will uproot them and scatter them as dust. Allah will leave them as plain, smooth, and level. Nothing crooked or curved will thou see in their place. On that day will they follow the caller straight. No crookedness can they show him. All sounds shall humble themselves in the presence of Allah most gracious. Nothing shalt thou hear but the tramp of their feet as they march. On that day shall no intercession avail except for those for whom permission has been granted by Allah most gracious, and whose word is acceptable to Allah. Allah knows what appears to Allah's creatures as before, after, or behind them, but they shall not compass it with their knowledge. All faces shall be humbled before Allah, the living, the self-subsisting, eternal. Hopeless indeed will be the man that carries iniquity on his back. But he who works deeds of righteousness and has faith will have no fear of harm, nor of any curtailment of what is his due. Thus have we sent this down, an Arabic Quran, and explained therein in detail some of the warnings, in order that they may fear Allah, or that it may cause their remembrance of Allah. High above all is Allah, the Sovereign, the Truth. Be not in haste with the Quran before its revelation to thee is completed, but say, O my Lord, advance me in knowledge. We had already beforehand taken the covenant of Adam, but he forgot, and we found on his part no firm resolve. When we said to the angels, Prostrate yourselves to Adam, they prostrated themselves, but not Iblis. He refused. Then we said, O Adam, verily this is an enemy to thee and thy wife, so let him not get you both out of the garden, so that thou art landed in misery. There is therein enough provision for thee not to go hungry, nor to go naked, nor to suffer from thirst, nor from the soleil's heat. But Satan whispered evil to him, and he said, O Adam, shall I lead thee to the tree of eternity, and to a sovereignty that never decays? And the result, they both ate of the fruit, so their nakedness appeared to them. They began to sew together for their covering leaves from the garden. Thus did Adam disobey his Lord, and allow himself to be seduced. But his Lord chose him for Allah's grace. Allah turned to him and gave him guidance. Allah said, Get ye down, both of you, altogether from the garden with enmity one to another. But if, as is sure, there comes to you guidance from me, whosoever follows my guidance will not lose his way, nor fall into misery. But whosoever turns away from my message, verily for him is a life narrowed down, and we shall raise him up blind on the day of judgment. He will say, O my Lord, why hast thou raised me up blind, whilst I had sight before? Allah will say, Thou didst Thus didst thou, when our signs came unto thee, disregard them, so wilt thou this day be disregarded. And thus do we recompense him who transgresses beyond bounds and believes not in the signs of his Lord, and the penalty of the hereafter is much further grievous and further enduring. Is not a warning to such men to call to mind how many generations before them we destroyed, and whose haunts they now move? Verily in this are signs for men endued with understanding. Had it not been for a word that went forth before from thy Lord, their punishment must necessarily have come, but there is a term appointed for respite. Therefore be patient with what they say, and celebrate constantly the praises of thy Lord, before the rising of the soleil and before its setting. Yea, celebrate them for part of the hours of the night, and at the sides of the day, that thou mayest have spiritual joy. Nor strain thine eyes in longing for the things we have given for enjoyment to parties of them, the splendor of the life of this world, through which we test them, but the provisions of thy Lord is better and further enduring. Enjoin prayer on thy people, and be constant therein. We ask thee not to provide sustenance, we provide it for thee, but the fruit of the hereafter is for righteousness. They say, why does he not bring us a sign from his Lord? Has not a clear sign come to them of all that was in the former books of Revelation, and we have inflicted on them a penalty before this? They would have said, our Lord, if only thou hadst sent us an apostle, we should certainly have followed thy signs before we were humbled and put to shame. Say, each one of us is waiting. Wait ye therefore, and soon shall ye know who it is that is on the straight and even way, and who it is that has received guidance. Sri Guru Granth Sahib, So Parak. That immaculate personage, that Vaheguru, free from the influence of worldly attachments, is incomprehensible, inaccessible, and limitless. O true Creator, all remember and worship you. O Vaheguru, all the creatures are yours, and you are their benefactor. O my dear saints, meditate on that Vaheguru who is the destroyer of all pain. Actually, Vaheguru by Vaheguru is the master, and Vaheguru by Vaheguru the servant. What is the importance of an ordinary creature like Nanak? O Vaheguru, you alone pervade in all hearts, and you manifest everywhere. It is all according to your wonderful drama that some are donors and some beggars. Actually, O Vaheguru, you yourself are the giver and the receiver. I neither know nor see anyone but you in the whole universe. O you all-pervading, infinite, and limitless, supreme Vaheguru, which of your merits may I narrate? I only say that Nanak is an offering to those who serve you devotedly. O Vaheguru, they who meditate upon you will live in peace in all ages. Yes, liberated will be those who meditate on Vaheguru. They will not be subjected to the noose or feared of death. They who meditate on the fearless Vaheguru will have all their fears ended forever. They who have served my Vaheguru will ultimately merge in Vaheguru. Therefore, those who have meditated on Vaheguru are truly blessed, and your servant Nanak is an offering to them. O Vaheguru, infinite and innumerable are the treasures of your meditation. Countless are your devotees who praise you in countless ways. Innumerable are those who worship you, O my respected sire. Countless are those who do your worship, and O my respected sovereign, countless are those who do your worship and practice penances. O my limitless Vaheguru, countless are those who read many Smritis and Sastras, and perform different rituals and 6 forms of religious rites. But servant Nanak says that only those devotees who are pleasing to my Vaheguru, the architect of our design, are of any value. O Vaheguru, you are the primal being and limitless creator. No one is as great as you are. Age after age, you are always one and the same. You are the unchangeable, constant, and imperishable creator. Whatever pleases you comes to pass. Only that happens which you desire. You yourself created the entire universe, and you yourself have destroyed it countless times. Devotee Nanak sings the praises of that omniscient creator. O Vaheguru, you are the true creator and my master. Only that which pleases you happens, and I receive what you grant me. O Vaheguru, the whole world is your creation, and all meditate on you, but only the one upon whom you shower your grace obtains the jewel of your name, your love, and enlightenment. Those who live according to the Guru's instructions find the jewel of your name. On the other hand, they who are self-willed or follow their own minds lose your name. But, O Vaheguru, nothing is in the control of any living being, because you yourself separate some and unite others with you. O Vaheguru, you are a kind of river of life, and all creatures are mere waves in that river. There is no one besides you. All these creatures are part of your drum of life. In your script, whosoever has been destined to be separated remains separated from you, and others are united according to your will. O Vaheguru, only the one whom you make to understand understands the right way of life. Such a person always utters Vaheguru's praises and describes Vaheguru's merits. Those who have served Vaheguru with devotion have obtained peace, effortlessly merged in Vaheguru's name, and become one with Vaheguru. O Vaheguru, you are the creator, and all that happens is by your will. There is no other second to you. You create the entire universe, watch over it, and comprehend it. Servant Nanak says, it is by Vaheguru's grace alone that you reveal yourself to someone. O my mind, you are abiding in a terribly dangerous worldly pool in which, instead of water, Vaheguru has put the fire of desire. In addition, it appears that your feet cannot move in this mire of worldly attachments. I have seen many drown in this pool. O my foolish mind, you do not remember the one Vaheguru, and as you forsake Vaheguru, you lose all your merits. O Vaheguru, I am neither a celibate, nor a philanthropist, nor a learned scholar. I have been living my life as an ignorant and foolish person. Therefore, Nanak humbly prays to you to please keep me in the refuge of those Guru Sikhs who have never forsaken you. O human being, you have been blessed with a beautiful human body instead of a beautiful... O human being, you have been blessed with a beautiful human body. This is your opportunity to meet Vaheguru. All other tasks are of no utilization to you. You should simply join the company of the holy persons and meditate on Vaheguru's name alone. O my friend, engage yourself in the task of swimming across the terrible worldly ocean, obtaining salvation. Your life is being wasted in the pursuit of illusory worldly pleasures. O Vaheguru, I have not engaged in any worship, penance, or austerity. I have not served holy saints. I, Nanak, confess that all my works and deeds have been undesirable and sinful. But, O Vaheguru, I seek your protection. Please save my honor, as is your tradition of saving those who seek your refuge. Alhamdulillah, Ar-Rahmani Ar-Rahim, Allahu Abham, Dao Ka Dao, Fe Chong Dao, Ming Ka Ming, Fe Chong Ming, Ja Rastafari. Deus nos te quies in cele santificato nomen tuum, Vaheguru Satnam. Baruch Ata Elohim, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher ksanu ba mitzotav v'tzivan l'sok b'rvai Torah. Amen. Kyrie eleison, sevamastu savejigatehi, sabe sata bavantu sukitata. Vagabiyam, aquaba upendona amani. Fikiri nesalami, chinta dam pename and labor of me wumajaka. Ubuntu shabona fakitka. Shishem. Como Sanita, Domo Arigato, Pilama, Yellow Walker Taka Doko Shingun, Go Menagan. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Ata Jami Yat Afanami. Vado, Aho, Om Shanti, 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 Amen. Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, Shalom, Mir, Jai Janendra, Satnam. Zaijen, adios. Sayonara. Metta Samadhi. Eshwaso. Agape ke irini. Esempe na asamuje. Kelig Ofred. One love, peace, happiness, liberation. All thanks and praise to the Most High, Elohim Jah Rastafari.